but I had a very successful career as a senior financial analyst, mainly in Hong Kong, which I loved. I loved my career. It was on the edge of economics and politics, and it's like the world is moving very fast. But I went on a business trip to Jakarta, Indonesia, midway through the Asian financial crisis, which was when the Thai baht currency broke and Asia went into chaos. And so I lived through that as a financial analyst, not a very pleasant experience. And after my business meetings in Jakarta that day, I had a knock on my hotel door, and I opened the door without thinking. You know, I didn't look through that little peephole. And unfortunately, there was a man with a gun there. And so he pushed me back into the room onto the floor, and I ended up being held hostage at gunpoint in this very nice hotel in Jakarta. So that was a very life-changing experience, as you can imagine. And, it made me think very deeply, actually. When I was alive after it, I escaped it, obviously, as you can see. It made me really think, what did I want to do with my life? Renunciation, really. And it involves, most largely expressed in a monastic life. But when it comes to a lay life, obviously the text also talk about worldly happiness. What does worldly happiness consist of? Which may be different from being a monastic and renouncing everything. It means understanding how to be content. It means realizing you do need a lot of things to support you, whether it's food, shelter, family, health. But it's also about knowing when is enough. So it's finding the balance between not having anything, but also not being carried away by huge greed to constantly strive for more and more and more just for yourself. So this sense of, what do I need to be content? And then from there, the thought of, when I continue to work and I continue to strive for things, can I strive then more for other people than just myself? But you have to get the balance right. First of all, we have to make wise decisions to have the support around us that we need to thrive and have worldly happiness. But don't get so carried away with it that you end up thinking 4 cars is going to make you happy, right? Because from my experience of helping others, this is the greatest source of worldly happiness, to truly help others. So I guess that's the answer that I would give. Do ask me a more specific question about it if it brings more color to it.
Oh, absolutely. So I think the takeaway from your experiences, I guess, rather than reducing it to either G&H, spirituality, or economy and money, but I think you have demonstrated a perfect way of really balancing it, because I think even going back to the basics is, how do you really appreciate and admire the form that we have, the physical form, being a human being, and the wonderful things that we can do. And primarily, I guess, the larger purpose is, how do we help others? And I think that's a really good message that I think our young people should to adhere to. So maybe as a takeaway, maybe one final advice. I know that this is just the beginning, so we will be requesting Ani for more future discussions on this very, very complex but very, very valuable topics. So this is just a start. So it's just the appetizer, pre-appetizer. Okay. So maybe your last advice as a pre-appetizer, so that next time around we will even do a live session so that people can tune in and ask you questions.
Oh, that would be great. I love questions.
So maybe your final,
so as Dasho has said, from a Dharma point of view, we talk about precious human life, don't we? The indulgence, the conditions, the advantages, the freedoms. And if we remember from a Dharma point of view, why is a human life defined as precious? It's rare to find. You have something very rare, being born as you are, so rare. It's hard to hold on to. It could go at any moment. And it's the greatest vehicle for helping many beings. So when we recognize that we have something rare and hard to hold on to, then we can see ourselves as something precious and amazing, and we can treat ourselves well. We can appreciate our potential, but our real flourishing happens when we help many other beings. So that's directly from Dharma. That's the first outer preliminary of Nungdro. Can't argue with that. End of the show.